Hey friends, I'm Monica Neubauer, the Maverick Motivator, and today's session is going to be about how do I be a speaker or trainer in the real estate industry. My primary audience for this session are those people who are real estate agents or brokers or maybe loan originators, they own title companies, people who are in the industry who want to speak to their peers and want to bring training into their real estate community. They may also want to be more of a speaker, but that's where they're going to start. A secondary audience for this might be some of my friends who speak on a topic but aren't yet speaking in the real estate industry and would like to know, how do I talk, get the opportunity to do more speaking presentations in the real estate industry. It would also be helpful there. Okay. I have been speaking in the real estate industry for about 15 years, if you don't know me. And I hope, you'll have a class with me before too long. And I get a lot of people who say to me, Monica, how do I get to do what you do? And how do I get to be a speaker? How can I train? Sometimes it's just, I want to do this one class. Can you help me understand how to put it together and how to get CE? So this is actually the third video. There's 3 videos. I did one about how to be a speaker, and that has general information about improving your skill and how far do you want to go with it? How much do you want to invest in it as a business? And I also have a video about how to get CE, continuing education, for your course, most specifically in Tennessee, which is where I live, but that video is helpful across the country because I've spoken in many states for continuing education. Okay. So you are a real estate agent or you're a professional and you say, I want to do some more speaking. What should I do? How do I get started? Well, I'm thrilled to tell you because I asked everybody when I started in the industry. When you want to share, you have to decide, who do I want to share to first? That's so true about any business we're starting or any new venture is, who do I want to hire me? Who do I want to hear my message? And do they even want to hear my message? Right? Just because we want to share it doesn't mean other people want to hear it. Sorry. It's a thing. Okay, so I have a message I want to share, or I want to speak in the industry. Well, once you say to me, I want to speak in the industry, I'm going to say, what do you have to say? If you are a loan originator, you're going to have something to say about the loan process to teach other professionals who are mostly real estate agents. So pick something in your industry, in your thread of loan originating that you want to share that'll be helpful to realtors. Now, if you are a highly successful loan originator, you might have more to share, like, this is how I built my business, or this is how I service my clients who are the loan that I've given loans to, and how I also keep up with my clients who are the real estate agents who work with me. So you may have deeper things as you start in it, but I suggest you start with something obvious so you can share that with ease, something that just comes very naturally to you. Okay, let's say you're an agent and you want to start training in the industry. Well, there are so many topics, as you know, that you could teach on, and there's various ways to get started in that. First of all, and this is good for everyone, is just to pick a topic maybe and put 30 minutes together and do a lunch and learn. They're free. You can do that for people in your office, people in your brokerage. If you have a topic and you want to say something, surely your brokerage firm or your association has some opportunities where free training is of interest to people. And if you're willing to offer it for free and they feel like you can bring something, they might filter you through a system that says, can you speak? Are you known? All the kind of general things about a speaker. They're not just going to let anybody speak to their agents, whether it's a brokerage firm or an association. But that's kind of your first place where you're going to speak. I was given opportunities in the brokerage firm I was with when I started in the industry, and they let those teach who had something to say. And so I studied the materials that they wanted taught, and I was doing that in my work. And so then I got to teach some other agents. That came natural to me because I like to speak in public. Now, if you listen to the video about being a speaker, it's going to talk to you about teaching yourself. Where are you going to go to learn the skill of public speaking? Because just because you want to stand up and speak and teach people about something doesn't mean you have that skill of public speaking. So please be learning that as well, so you will receive more opportunities to speak. We don't want you to be a one and done, right? We want you to be able to continue and grow in that situation. Okay, so you say, I want to share in the industry. A lunch and learn might be good. And I generally say to most people who want to speak in the industry, go talk to the education director at your local association. Tell them, I want to speak for the association. What are the avenues available for me? What would you suggest I do? What are the requirements here in our association for you to bring in a speaker? And be willing, at least for the first few times, to do something for free. Or they may have kind of a starting payment that they will pay for instructors who are new in the association. And it will be low. I'm going to let you know that. But take it. That's going to be your opportunity. Most of the associations, and even the small associations, what they need first are those core things that are important to the regulatory boards. That's going to be ethics. Our state has a state required course called the core course, the Tennessee core course, and it's 6 hours. And I've seen that in many other states. They have a core class that agents have to take generally every couple of years. Can you teach that class? You don't have to write it. It's already written for you. You just have to add in your own stories, and you need to make it your own by way of presentation, but you don't have to write the stories. So that's a good place to start, is if your association or your state has some core materials that you need to be taught everywhere. So all the associations need to hire somebody with that. I've seen some small associations who that's all they offer. They don't offer any of the I don't know, what would you call those? The marketing classes or the designations. They just can't afford to hire those speakers. So they will start with those required classes. And that's a great place. And I remember when I first got in the business, our Tennessee education director, people would come to him and say, how do I teach and what can I do? And one of the things that he challenged everybody with was to go out and write an amazing fair housing class. Because he knew how important fair housing was, but he also knew it was hard to captivate an audience to talk about that topic. Now, I think in this day and age, in 2023, it is a little bit easier to write a dynamic class along that line. But can you write a dynamic class about the code of ethics, about fair housing, about buyer's agency? What can you say about those core things that are really important in the industry? Okay, so you think about, I want to speak. If you don't know what you want to talk about, that's a great avenue to go. Now, whoever is willing or interested to hire you there, they may say, well, you need to get some training first. We're not just going to hire you. So where do you get training? Well, in Tennessee, there's a few places. And so think along these lines in your state. In Tennessee, there is, and these are for CE people, but also you have to do it to teach continuing ed, but also this is what associations are looking for. And they want, with our state, you have to be approved as an instructor. In Tennessee, that's really easy with our regulatory board. With our Tennessee Realtors, it's not as easy, but with our regulatory board, it's easy. Now, there's other states that I've spoken in Illinois and Arizona to be specific. They require every CE instructor to have gone through these lengthy training programs in their own state. And whether I like those programs or not doesn't matter. Everybody who teaches CE has to do those. So I have at some point been able to teach CE in those two states, but sometimes those situations can lapse. So for example, Illinois does not have a lot of out-of-state speakers for CE because it's just hard to keep that CE license up. Okay, so you need to understand what are the laws in your state, in your area, and where you want to teach, and maybe a neighboring state. That might be good for you, especially if you live in a border town. Okay, so my regulatory commission, they require one thing, and then what does your association require? Our state association requires that everybody who teaches for them has to go through regular instructor training to teach their courses. Now, the Tennessee Realtors has a division for education, the Tennessee Real Estate Education Foundation, and everybody who teaches the classes that they own, they've written those classes or they've hired somebody to write those classes. If you're going to teach those classes, you have to go through their regular instructor classes. Generally, it's one day every other year. Again, everywhere is different. I've had associations bring me in to teach a 2-day class because they want to see some of the people in their market who have come and said, I want to be a speaker. I want to teach classes at the association. And the association says, not until you've had some instructor training. And when that gets backed up, they will have somebody come in and teach some instructor training. So you may have that option at a state association, or your local association may bring in somebody to teach that. And when it comes to you locally, by all means, jump on it, take it, get that training. That is such a fun class for me to teach and watch these people just bloom over 2 days from I've got something I want to say to a small PowerPoint, and they've clearly put some things on paper. It's very exciting to watch the speakers grow in that way. Well, then, after they've had some training, the association may say to them, what do you want to teach? Again, you might be able to go the route of teaching something that's already created, but maybe you have your own course you want to write. And if you're going to teach in a broader way in the real estate industry, you're going to need to learn to write your own courses. You can have a healthy space in your state just teaching the required courses if you like those, and you can travel and go to associations in your state. And some people, that's perfectly good for them. They want to do that. They have a good time bringing those required courses, and it provides some regular opportunities. But if you want to teach your own material, or you want to grow and expand your speaking business, you're going to need to start writing your own classes. And I remember the first class that I wrote was a business building class. And I still teach that class to this day. Of course, I've changed it up over the years, and certainly I've expanded my PowerPoints a lot, because my PowerPoints, that definitely was something that I needed to improve. Oh my gosh, I can't tell you how my PowerPoints have changed over the years so much. We're always starting somewhere, and then we're learning as we go on to do it better. Okay, so try and make your first ones great, but don't get caught in a perfectionist mindset that's going to be limiting to you. Just write the course, get it down. Now, ask them what they would like. Would they like a 1 hour, 2 hour, 3 hour course? These are generally going to be courses that you're going to want to get approved for CE. And so please listen to my other video about that, because it's going to have to be very consumer centric. And a lot of states would prefer then a 2 or 3 hour class. Some states give 1 hour CE and some do not. It's too short in some situations. And largely when people come to CE, they'd rather get more than 1 hour. So think about writing something longer like that. Now you need to learn, how do I write a class? Wow. I can tell you there's more to that than you think. That's been my story. Every page I've turned as I've started learning in my journey about this. Wow, there's more to this than I thought. Wow, that's how you do a PowerPoint. Wow, all of this. So there's so much to do there. And you're going to start writing, what are my objectives? You're going to start with, what are my learning objectives? These are the things that I want to teach to the agents or to the audience that I'm speaking to. And a lot of people want to see your learning objectives. You're going to need to turn those in when you ask for your CE credit. They're going to want to have a description of the class and what are either the 3 takeaways or 3 learning objectives from the class. Okay? Start with that. Okay, that's what I want to teach. This is my message, and that's what I want to teach. Great. Now you can start creating an outline of what you want to say and the format that you want to say it in. And gosh, if you have a whole lot of stuff, well, maybe then you do have that 3 hour class. But you also want to recognize that you're going to need to put into your class engagement, either small group exercises where they're talking amongst themselves and engaging together, or town hall conversations where you're leading a discussion with everybody. Maybe you want to create a game for them, or a bingo, or some project that you want them to brainstorm on together. What are the activities you're going to bring? And those are crucial for adult education. If you're just going to talk from the front for 2 or 3 or 4 hours, that is not going to be well received by an audience. Unless you're extremely funny, they're not going to receive that, and they're probably not going to learn really well from it. And if you get really terrible reviews from the class right off the bat, you might not get to teach again. So make sure you include some things in the class that are going to really engage the audience and they're going to really enjoy, because then they'll have more fun, they'll learn more, and you'll get better reviews. If your class is all about you. Oh, I did this, I did that, I'm doing this, this is what you should do. If it's just you telling about you and what they have to do, they're not going to have a good experience with that. And I talk a lot about my own stories. Stories are good, but I always make them into good learning lessons. And I'm kind of naturally a pretty good storyteller. So stories are good to help make it fun. Make sure, though, it's not all about things that you've done and how wonderful you are and those kinds of things. It's about them, what are their needs, and how can they apply it. So you've written this class. Now you got to create the PowerPoints. Please learn some things about creating good PowerPoints. I'm not going to go down that rabbit trail right now because that's a whole nother session. However, there is more to it than you think. So create some PowerPoints. And also, it is good if you can create a handout. And I like to put in my handout some things that I want them to have or I want them to know that we may not get to completely in our class. Or I'll have them brainstorm something and think about it in the class, and then I'll give them the handout that says, here's some of what you've been working on, here's some more ideas for that. So a handout is a great way to give them more information that they can take away for later. So you have to have your takeaways and or learning objectives, a description, a title, your PowerPoint, and a handout. Mostly, and I would suggest everybody start with that because it very much helps you to think through what you want to say, what you want them to learn, and how do those go together, okay? So once you have all that, now you're going to work with the association or the school you're working with to get it approved for CE. Again, listen to that other video to hear more about that. And once you get it approved for CE, then you're going to teach it. Awesome. So now you have an opportunity to teach. Please practice. Go through the whole class before you go and do it live, especially if you're not an experienced speaker. And I suggest with the ease of video that we have that you put your phone up or your computer up and record yourself and watch it back. Yes, I know how painful that is. I have a very hard time watching some of my stuff back, but I get the privilege right now of not watching it back all the time because I have watched a lot of them and I have learned about how I present myself. You want to see yourself. Are your movements awkward? What are you doing with your head? Are you using too many filler words? Please go to Toastmasters so you can learn to not use so many filler words. That is my number one suggestion about how to learn to be a speaker is to join Toastmasters. Best thing I did early in my career to help me speak more clearly and with more focus. Okay, what else? Well, once you are speaking at your association, whether you've written your own classes or you're teaching the required classes and you start getting more of that, well, then you can think, well, am I content doing this or do I want to speak more? Well, if you want to speak more and you want to teach like designations with the National Association of REALTORS, then you need to go through their process. But they won't entertain having you as a speaker until you're already speaking in your local association. And once you're speaking there, then you can talk to the staff at NAR and they'll show you their process. There's some more training, and then that opens the door for you to begin to teach their classes. Okay? And there always will be reviews. So they're watching how good you are. I've never seen somebody be removed from teaching those classes, but they do watch what your reviews are and how well you teach. But your audience also will review you, and the association gets to see that as well. All right. And the other side is if you want to truly do what I do, Monica, what exactly do you do? Well, I teach a lot at local and estate associations all over the country. And sometimes I teach for brokers, and sometimes I teach for other companies on entrepreneurship or small business or things like that. So if you want to grow that, listen to the speaker video. That is kind of next level. Now, in the real estate industry, if you want to learn bigger and expand a little bit, there are two organizations I suggest you join. Well, one is an organization and one is an event that happens once a year. I suggest you consider joining REIA, the Real Estate Educators Association, rea.com or .org. And the other one is in the spring, there's an event called the Realtor Association Development Director. Oh my gosh, it's for the education directors and the instructors. It's development. I'm so surprised I can't remember what it is. RAPDD. Real Estate Association Professional Development Directors. Boom, there it is. I always know who it is and I remember the acronym, but getting all the letters is a little challenging. And that is a place where you can go and learn about how to be an instructor, and you can also network with some association education directors. You want to come in there and just get to know people. Don't come in and say, "Oh, here I am," that kind of thing. And I went every year for many years and got to know people, and that was very helpful for me. So I hope that has provided kind of a good overview for you. And once you've watched all of my videos, then if you want to ask me some more questions, that might be fine, or you can drop them in the chat below. And I get messages when people ask me questions on my YouTube channel, and I'll take a look at those. So thanks so much for joining me today. Monica Neubauer, the Maverick Motivator.